This is the European edition of Breaking Banks, the world's #1 fintech podcast and radio show. We bring you the European unicorns, startups, founders, regulators, and leaders innovating the rapidly evolving fintech scene today. A truly localized podcast with both English and local language content, with some of the world's most well-known hosts and influencers in the fintech sector globally. Join us every week as we explore what makes the European Union a phenomenal proving ground for many of the fastest growing fintech plays in the world today. Okay, let's roll.
Hey guys, welcome back to Breaking Banks Europe. I am Matteo Rizzi, the executive producer of the show. Today is show number 176. Is an ecosystem zoom in, and we are going to talk about an ecosystem that for sure not many of you are familiar with, which is Cape Verde. I'm here with two estimated guests, Pedro Lopes and Milton Cabral, and as per our tradition, I'll let them a couple of minutes to introduce themselves. Let's start with our senior politicians. Thank you very much. It's not every day that we get someone of your status in the podcast. Pedro Lopes, welcome to Breaking Banks Europe.
It's a pleasure to be here, Matteo.
Couple of minutes about yourself.
Well, I'm Secretary of State for Digital Economy of Cabo Verde, a small nation in West Africa, a small nation with big dreams. I oversee everything that is related with training and also entrepreneurship in the digital field and also telecommunications in the country. And yes, we are just giving the first steps. It's not important what I do. People, if they want to meet me, check on LinkedIn. All the information is there. Sometimes we have big bios, but we have to do big things, not big bios.
Great, amazing. And then let's go to Milton. Milton is an old friend. I know him for a couple of years already, head of Cape Verde Digital and amazing initiatives for the country. Milton, welcome to Breaking Banks Europe.
Thank you, Matteo. Thank you for having me here. So I'm Milton Cabral, head of Cape Verde Digital, a government program that focuses on promoting digital entrepreneurship in country. My background is in computer science, but I'm involved in ecosystem development for the last 5 years, I think. And we are here to share about our journey, how we envision Cape Verde as a digital nation. So thank you, Matteo.
And by the way, guys, I touched it with my own hands and saw with my own eyes. I was there a couple of weeks ago. Actually, this is when I had in mind that an ecosystem like this, like a small country with big dreams, I think that, Pedro, you cannot describe it better, actually, deserves space because, geographically is already a challenge because it's a set of like different islands. And so being able to include everyone in terms of entrepreneurship and startups and digitizations of the services is already a challenge per se. But I don't want to spoil because I'm going to ask Pedro to talk about it. But this is one of the only programs, nationwide that I've ever seen where actually the country is pushing the entrepreneurs, even financially, So why don't you describe a little bit, where it all started? Give also some like a geographical context, right? Because it's not because the nation is small when we have many other examples in the rest of the world that you guys are not allowed to actually dream big. Luxembourg is the example that we always take in Europe. Is in the map for every financial ecosystems, in a planet. And I wish you guys the same, Pedro.
Yes, I hope so. Well, you have Luxembourg, you have Estonia. In Africa, you have Rwanda. Also, you have Singapore. Well, size doesn't matter anymore. And Cabo Verde, to understand the history of Cabo Verde, you have to go to the back in the days in the root of enslaved people. The Portuguese, they went to countries at the time, Senegambia, now Senegal and Gambia and other parts of Africa, enslave people and sell them in Cabo Verde, because our geographical position made Cabo Verde a great place for a marketplace for enslaved people, because then people would go to Brazil, to the big plantations. Well, now we continue with our perfect geographical position, but it's time for Cape Verdeans to tell their own history. We want to rebrand that history, and we want to do it with a pen of innovation, with the ink of innovation, with the ink of inclusion, and the ink of sustainability. And we believe that our geographical position is fantastic. In 3 hours, 3 hours and a half, you are in Lisbon. In 1 hour, you are in Dakar, Senegal. We are the closest African country to US. Also in 6 hours, 7 hours, you are in Fortaleza, Brazil, with the time zone more or less the same. We speak the same language. Brazil, we just returned from Brazil, where we were participating on the Web Summit. And our Prime Minister was the only African political leader to be invited as a guest. So to achieve our goal of being a gateway to Africa's growing tech scene, we believe that we need to invest in 3 things. First of all, infrastructure, and we are doing that with our big investment in our tech park. We are investing more or less $100 million in the tech park in São Vicente, in Santiago. And the tech park will have a training center, an incubation center, a business center for companies with more maturity, a conference center to organize international events, and a data center, a state-of-art data center. And in São Vicente will be the same. This is investment not just for our country, but to serve the entire region. So our goal is to be a hub of innovation in our region. And not just the tech park, but also the Ella Link, the state-of-art submarine cable that also is improving our connectivity. So if you have infrastructure, now we were thinking about we need a community, because you cannot create an ecosystem without a community. That's how we created Cabo Verde Digital. And we've been pushing with programs that are not just a political narrative. We need to put money in the people we need to put money on the founders. We need to start giving incentives for them to start. And in Cabo Verde, we have a fantastic program for internships, but we were doing an active listening, and we are understanding that sometimes the founders, especially the founders of an ecosystem that is giving these first steps, they don't need a lot of money. They just need the support of the government to start. And that's why we created the scholarship. We are supporting more or less 100 entrepreneurs to create 50 startups per year. We are already in the 4th edition. And this is not just entrepreneurs and founders for the capital city. It's for the entire country. And as you said, we are 9 islands. It's not easy to have a nationwide program, but we so far we've been successful in that. Also, we are making efforts to have more and more women as entrepreneurs, as digital entrepreneurs participating in our programs. So that's also an effort that we have. But it's not just the scholarship. We also have the Go Global program, where we participate in so many different events. We've been in the Web Summit Lisbon, where we are the only African country with a country stand. And we don't go just the political part or the technical part. We go with our startups. So we do a contest, national contest, to take the 10 best startups to Lisbon, and we pay everything. Again, an investment of the country. And many other programs like reconverting young unemployed people into coders, reconverting young unemployed people into digital marketeers. We created a program called Code Verde. Code is the last born son in Creole. And we made, a play with Code and Code Verde from Cabo Verde. and we are training the future of Cabo Verde. We are training talent, and we believe talent is really important. And this is something that is, I think, is innovative, the model that we created, because we are doing it with the private sector. Should not be the government. It's not the core business of the government to train people. So what we did, we partnership with PricewaterhouseCoopers, Visionware, well, international companies. They train the talent. We pay the training, and then they absorb the talent, and they start employing this talent. We did it with international companies, but also we did it with our startups that work for international markets. We did it with Shuva, with Syntaxi. So these are startups, and we want to do with DevGo now. These are Cape Verdean startups that work for international markets, for Germany, for US, for Portugal. So also they can train young talent from Cabo Verde, and then they can start working for them. So that's a program that we are really excited as well. And we have many other programs. The important thing is to shake things. The ecosystem, as you know, is just starting. But we are shaping a community with the right mentality, with the right mindset to shake things and to have this idea that, okay, we are from Cabo Verde, a small nation in West Africa, but we have big dreams. And we are audacious enough to dream big and be bold. And I think that is really important. And that's something that digital gives you that opportunity. You cannot just think small and local. We need to act local, of course, but think globally and believe in our dreams and believe in the talent of our people, the Cape Verdeans.
Pedro, I let you sort of talk for a while, even if, usually it is snappier the way we conduct a podcast. But I really thought when you already explained part of it in person when we met, I think that it is absolutely incredible. And I wish more countries, had this sort of, mentality and mindset. And sort of magic recipe to put together private and public sector, to make things work. And I think Milton told to us a little bit about what did you guys achieve with Cabo Verde Digital. A lot of cohorts already. How does it work? The selection. It's a cross stack, so it's not only fintech, even though I'm expecting financial inclusion is a very much wanted indirect consequence, of this work. So please tell us your story.
Good. So Cape Verde Digital born as a program to create and make the governance of the ecosystems. Basically, we bring different programs to touch in the different components of the ecosystems. I mean, the financial component, the legal framework, skilling and capacity building, infrastructure, regulation, culture, networking, all these key components of the ecosystems. And our main goal is not only operating the programs that will support this young generation with talents and also capital, but also advocating with the government for creating incentives to support this young generation in creating their business. And since 2019, we have made different programs, not only in pre-incubation scholarship that Pedro mentioned, but different programs to create platforms of networking, platforms of capacity building, financial support, infrastructure, creating that will impact in the startup ecosystems, the culture, and the community. And now, after 4 years of building the foundation, we believe that during these years, the past years, we are building the foundation. We can say that we have the critical mass that will allow us to leapfrog to a new phase of the ecosystem in Cape Verde. And these status that we achieved now, the achievements that we have, it's because during all this time, during the past years, our incubation program helps the ecosystems in prepare our entrepreneurs with technical skills, entrepreneurial skills, the culture and mindset, knowledge to get ready, for example, to step up to the next phase. And all the programs we have and we maintain now, we always try to see the different phases of the ecosystem evolution, or the startup evolution, the life cycle of a startup. We have programs focused on the early stage startups that are in the ideation process, and during this phase, we trying to support them with knowledge and basic incentives and programs that will allow them to prepare their project and step up to the next phase. And this same perspective from the startups and the scale-ups or growth phase, okay? And I can say now we have different cohorts that participated in the Bolsa Cabo Verde Digital. We already have a database of more than 100 startups in different phases, early stage startups, some in growth. We already have entrepreneurs that form a community with forward-thinking mindset, with the ability to connect with other entrepreneurs in other ecosystems, like in Portugal, in US, in Brazil, and I can say that we have a booming ecosystem, and we truly believe all this work will serve as a foundation for the next 2 years, that with the tech park, that will bring a tangible perspective of the ecosystems, will allow us to really establish as a hub for this region. But I truly believe that the tech park will be the trigger to the leapfrog, because it will bring the tangible perspective to the game.
Pedro, tell us a little bit about what's being told in the political corridor, of the different PALOPS countries, because when I engage in conversations, people completely underestimate the fact that there are at least a couple of 100 million people speaking Portuguese, if you include Brazil, of course, that there are like 5 countries in Africa, belonging to the PALOP community. And there is not yet a unified approach, right, to innovation, to the startup, to financial inclusion, to how regulation could push, for example, some of these digital innovations that we are talking about. How far do you think we are from really triggering this community at the global level?
Well, Matteo, you are right. In the world, we have 260 million people speaking Portuguese. But we are lacking of unity in terms of ecosystems. Now, Cabo Verde, I'm going to be honest with you, we feel like we are leading in the African continent, the Portuguese-speaking countries. And we made efforts to connect with the ecosystem of Portugal. They've been supporting us. Now we are doing efforts to connect with the ecosystem of Brazil. Cabo Verde Digital just signed an agreement with Verdean Valley. That is, they promote entrepreneurship as well, digital entrepreneurship in Salvador da Bahia. And we're going to continue to make these efforts. We participate on the Angola Innovation Summit, and we're going to keep pushing because we want to be in the front line. We understand that a small country like Cabo Verde, we don't have rivalities. So we can be the point of unity between these ecosystems. Also because we are small and flexible. So we believe there is a big opportunity. Startups in the Lusophone Africa, they don't have visibility. They don't speak Portuguese. They don't speak English. They are not Anglophone. They are not Francophone. You're not going to see them in the cover of Jeune Afrique. You're not going to see them well on the media outlets spread around the world. And if you think about the money that was raised last year by African startups, I think was around $5 billion. We're just talking about a couple of countries. So something is missing. Something is missing. We cannot just make business and raise capital in Egypt, Ghana, Nigeria. What about the other countries? And Africa needs that leapfrog that Milton was speaking. And in order to do so, I believe that will be done by young people that are sick and tired of some of the conditions, and they want change. And while they provide change to their community, they will make money. So I think the opportunities are endless. Resources in the world, unfortunately, they are not well distributed, but talent is. That's why we are believing on that, and we want to attract talent to Cabo Verde. We don't want change. We don't want to be a hub for West Africa, not just with Cape Verdeans. It's with Cape Verdeans, with our fantastic diaspora, but then with people around the world. Like I said, unfortunately, political context in West Africa is not easy sometimes. These countries, they have a lot of challenges, but we want to attract talent. And a country like Cabo Verde, where, well, we have good weather the entire year, we are building the right infrastructures, but also people here are not chased by color of skin, they are not chased by their religion, and they are not chased by their sexuality. And I believe when we can celebrate our own identity, we are more close to be innovative, we are more close to do bright things. And that's why we believe that we can be that place where people can enjoy our weather. If they don't do harm to people or to our environment, they can test solutions in a small country where the political leadership is really committed with innovation and technology.
So I will actually retain and hold on and double click on this talent topic. And let's do it after a short break to allow our partners to advertise. Okay? Stay with us. We're going to be back in a couple of minutes.
At timepledge.org, we are building the largest free coaching and advisory platform for entrepreneurs by providing mentorship opportunities based on pledged time. Our network of seasoned industry experts acting as coaches is working for free, pledging their valued time to the next generation of entrepreneurs who will change everything. Our portfolio of sessions goes over every skill an entrepreneur needs to successfully launch his or her startup, from how to pitch and behave with investors to how to best market your idea online, or even how to best manage your team. We have the perfect sessions with the perfect mentors. Want to learn how to become the best entrepreneur you can be, or mentor the next generation of entrepreneurs in Africa and Asia? Please visit timepledge.org and let's get you started.
Hey guys, welcome back to episode 176. Super engaging discussion talking about the ecosystem of Cabo Verde with Pedro and Milton. Pedro, you just talked and mentioned rightly so that talent has no geographies and has no critical mass. And it doesn't matter, you can build a hub of talent wherever in the world with the right approach. And actually, I'll start by asking to Milton, what is the role of universities and academia? Because you guys know how much I care and work about upskilling talent. There is an objective difference between Western universities and African universities. And as an example, I always give, I know for sure that there are many African countries where The data scientist course, for example, is 30 hours in a semester, whilst I have a computer science degree, and 30 years ago, we were doing 30 hours a month on artificial intelligence. So this is like the first gap. It's not the only one, but I wanted to understand, what do you think the role of academias and universities should be to in the whole talent upskilling and managing, not only in your ecosystem, but also in a generic emerging economy ecosystem. And what's your approach?
I think in general, universities and the academia responded to a critical role in the ecosystem development and in innovation in country in general. Because the talents actually are in the university. People with fresh mind, young, willing to learn, and open to new concepts. And what should be happening wider in all the ecosystem maybe is what is a more closer relationship between the ecosystem builders and the university, and creating value with these two vertices. Because for one side, we can see that when we talk about ecosystem building, we can connect with the private sector companies and the business opportunity, and also the pain points or the gaps of the industry, the society, and the country. And we should bring all these challenges that we can find in the ecosystem building sphere to the academia and to the university. And I particularly feel that we still have some lack of interoperability between these two players. In Cabo Verde, we have, and we are working in ensuring and build a strong relationship with the university, because we believe that the value and the capacity and workforce are there. But at the same time, we are acting as a kind of middleman between university and the market, and the challenge and the opportunities of the market. And this is the role that we are trying to play as Cabo Verde Digital, as a government program that focuses on pushing the digital entrepreneurship, but at the same time, bringing university, bringing the sector, the private sector, and creating a one community with all these players participating.
Pedro, your view on this?
Matteo, I think Milton said it almost everything. We need to, but I think that the game will change a lot. Universities, they have to reinvent themselves, or else they're going to lose the boat. I don't know if they will be in business in 20 years, to be honest. I don't know if they will be in business in 10 years. So, well, things are changing. I believe if you think about platforms of low code plus artificial intelligence, things are changing really fast. But it's also an opportunity for small countries like Cabo Verde. Knowledge is really what put people more close to be powerful to change things. So if you have more knowledge, you can change more things. And I believe spaces of learning will not just be in universities. Also, universities, if they want to keep up the pace, they have to be more close to private sector to understand, okay, I cannot train people the same way that I was training 20 years ago. I need to go to private sector and understand what are the needs, where we really need to train people, and update as well the type of update the entire system. I think we need something new, and also for people that are learning, they cannot spend like 8 hours per day in university. That will not happen, and things need to change. And also we as politicians, we need to change. Well, the game also will change in terms of regulation. Well, the game will change everything. So we need the best thing is, okay, be close to the people that are innovative, understanding what is changing, being open to change, and being flexible enough to say, okay, this is not written in a stone. Tomorrow will be different, and that's how we push forward.
Actually, you touched it, and it's a good segue to the next topic I want to talk about, which is financial inclusion. Okay, as many of these initiatives have clearly as a direct in a case of a fintech or indirect in a case of a digital tech initiative consequence, the fact of getting cash away from the hands of people, and we all know that being able to include financially the population has a direct impact on the GDP. That's not me saying. We have been talking and has been demonstrated for the past 2 decades. But very concretely, the more you can track anyone's financial activity, the better you can actually regulate the access to credit and therefore to grow the business, right? So what is, I don't want to know what the government is doing. I actually want to know your own opinion, right, Pedro, because of course, no fintech startup in Cape Verde can do business only in Cape Verde, right? So by definition, it has to be a global approach. Yet, you guys have the duty and certainly the objective, of include financially Cape Verde population. So, what's your take on this? Tell us a little bit. What's the panorama there?
Well, I'll give you my opinion. I think fintechs are really important because they give access to a world that sometimes, and just last week we were celebrating the stock market of Cabo Verde 25th anniversary, and I was one of the speakers. And I told them that is a new generation of young people that they really want to know more about investments. We are living in an age where, for example, Netflix just is trending the TV show How to Become Rich. And for 8 episodes, they go and they speak about investments, they go and speak about stock market and all of those things. And 10 years ago it would be impossible. People would think, okay, this is not accessible to anyone, just a couple of people that control everything and they have all the knowledge. Now you have kids, they want to be more into fintech. They want to understand what is the potential of crypto, what is the potential of investing in, indexes of investment, you name it. So I think this, again, is access, because everything is open and having access to a different type of players. But at the same time, of course, you have the big players wanting, and they want to control everything. They want to they want to I give the example of trying to stop the wave with the hands, but while they are trying to stop the wave with the hands, at the same time they are buying small startups that are in the fintech world. I'm talking about the big players. So you know that these kids, and not just kids, but these people are doing the right thing, or else they would be completely ignored. So I think it's a matter of, again, understanding that the world is changing. Of course, regulation is important, but I say that regulation should be after, not before. You cannot regulate something that doesn't exist. Sometimes we try to push for regulation and stop everything. Well, me and Milton, what we are trying to say to young people is like, be disruptive. And then in the process of destroying the old, someone will complain.
Talking about the old, before Milton steps in, what's the position and the mindset of the financial institutions, right? Because you as a as a person of the state must have their ears, right, and must be talking to their CEOs, and what do they say?
I think they believe things are changing. Before they were very reluctant. Whoops, epa, by English to speak
reluctant, I think. Yes.
But now things they are more open. Also because they see that things are changing everywhere in the world. So it's not something that before innovation was to be something that you connected with Silicon Valley. Now things are changing everywhere in the world, and CEOs, if they are not ready for what is coming, they are not in the right position. Part of being a leader is also understanding that times are changing. So in my perspective is that at least now we can speak with them without having those eyes of, no, these kids, they don't know anything, so that they're more open. That's what I feel.
Yeah, I think as Pedro mentioned, things change, and the education system must change. I bring the same concept for the financial system. Things change, and the financial system must change. And globally, we can see many examples of disruptive solutions that bring completely different ways of relating with cash and make transactions. I was in Brazil past week, and I was here learning about Pix, and the way Pix change how Brazilians relate with cash and business and transaction. It's a phenomenal thing, and I believe that Brazil have a huge example and a huge amount of things to teach different companies in different countries. We can say the same thing in Portugal with what is the app? MBWay. And basically this kind of solution that bring a disrupted way of doing things that facilitated transactions, they always work over the top, over a financial infrastructure, for example, provided by the regulator, provided by the central bank, for example. This is how PIX works, and I do believe that this is how MBWay works. And this solution then bring consequences. And I do believe they bring positive consequences that will touch also in the financial inclusion, because how easy is to relate with money and relate with transaction, it will be easy to provide access and to move amounts between peoples to peoples. So I believe here we have some dimension that must be considered. And first, I think it will imply very open and brave positioning of the political leaders and country leaders to say, hey, this is direction, we must disrupt, we must bring these new ways of doing things. And by the regulator side, we know that we always have the stability of the financial sectors, that it's a kind of main responsibility of this kind of structure that they need to preserve. But at the same time, we must guarantee that these institutions have the openness to receive and not block, but support and see how to make it viable for this new kind of products. And then we have the startups that need to have the proper infrastructure and the proper support to build their product for the financial sector. Here in Cape Verde, we starting to have some solutions that are targeting the financial sector. not only just for transaction, but also to bring solution for the back office, the financial institutions back office process. Also, Cape Verde Digital is working with the commercial bank and the regulator to bring a kind of a hub that will support, that will put together key players and key supports to guarantee that this kind of business will raise and grow in country.
Pedro, I would like you sort of to wrap up this conversation by sharing maybe one or two lessons, that you have learned in this first years of this journey, whether or not is about whether or not these lessons are concerning like either leadership or talent or technology, or sort of building this sense of community, because you're representing the government here, but I'm pretty sure that you can't be a Don Quixote, right? Inside the government, and you're certainly the one that is sort of at the head of the peloton, right? With your horse, but behind you need to have your generals, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't work. So tell us a little bit what a couple of lessons that you learned, or maybe one thing that makes you dream and makes you be positive about the future.
Well, Matteo, there is a general there, Milton, and so many others. I'm with them. I'm part of. As you said, I'm a poster child of the community. But behind me, there are a lot of people working. Cabo Verde Digital is a team of young people. What we are doing, we are trying to attract for the ecosystem people that are young, passionate, and crazy. And those are the ecosystem builders of Cabo Verde. People like Milton, like Joel Almeida, like Joelson, so many others that are part of this team. And last week we were in Brazil, but here in Cabo Verde, me and Milton, we were in Brazil, but in Cabo Verde, we have people doing a lot of things. And that's what we believe, that you need to surround yourself with people that are passionate like you. They are driven by results and by an impact, and they don't get excited with small achievements. But the biggest lesson that I believe, and me and Milton, we talk about it, because in the beginning we were so excited that we thought everyone would join our venture and our journey. So it was like we felt like we were shooting in the dark, and we were losing a lot of powder, a lot of energy. So you need to target. It's not everyone that want to be part of an ecosystem of digital entrepreneurship. It's not everyone that want to use digital as a way of developing the country. And of course, when we bring change, you also have a lot of resistance. People, they resist to change normally. So what we understood and what we learned, it's better to use the energy to people that are really want to be supported. They want to be part of the community instead of being shooting in the dark. That was the biggest lesson, at least that I received in this process of building the ecosystem. But again, this idea of you have to be surrounded by crazy people. They are pushing every day. They are not just happy with small things, and they want to be a reference in the world. So I share this dream with Milton and many others when we talk about Cabo Verde and when we spread the word. And thank you for giving us this opportunity. Our eyes normally they start shining. And people that knows us, they know that we believe on this, and I really believe, or else we'd not be here. And this opportunity of, when you go to US, people or Europe, people, they don't speak with the same level of excitement. First, because maybe Europe is becoming old. Second, because in many other places, things already been done. So I think for us is an opportunity to learn from the things that have been done, having the support of amazing people that already made mistakes in building their own ecosystem. And that's why the strength also of our ecosystem is having good partners and learning from their mistakes and building something new and excitement. And this is, I think, those are the ingredients of Cabo Verde Digital. I think we are in the end of this podcast, or reaching the end. People, they should connect with us, digital.cv. People can schedule meetings with us virtually and connect with our ecosystem. We also having a program of digital nomads, receiving digital nomads here in Cabo Verde. And we are open for welcome talent and welcome as well people that want to open business in Cabo Verde. The tech part will be ready this year. And hopefully we'll have companies around the world to discover the potential of Cabo Verde as a getaway and a safety entry path to the continent of the future that is Africa.
You don't need to convince me, because I am considering, as we speak, to be a partial digital nomad in Cabo Verde for the coldest part of the year. I'm very happy in Lisbon, but it is true that since my trip, you guys have been inspiring me more than one thought, and not just for the the beauty of the country, but also for the right mindset indeed. My prediction is that very soon you will have one of these McKinsey studies, that instead of studying the story of Netflix and Blockbuster, will probably, analyze the story of Cabo Verde as a small country that managed to be a Swiss clock in terms of innovation and setting up the right path for startups and entrepreneurs, and also connecting with the ecosystem globally, and certainly not considering the Night Islands as their border. Pedro, Milton, thank you very much for being with us. I am pretty sure our auditors have learned a lot today about a country maybe off from the main path, but of the main tech and startup path, but certainly very much present and leading the developed community. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, Matteo. Thank you. It was a pleasure for us.
And this is episode 176, and it's a wrap.
Thanks for listening to Breaking Banks Europe, a Provoke Media podcast in cooperation with FinTech Stage. Don't forget to tweet us out, shout out, or post to the team at Breaking Banks EU on Twitter. If there's something or someone you'd like to hear on our cast, let us know. See you next week on Breaking Banks Europe.